What is going on, everybody? We in the stew, baby, and we are back with another episode of the Colby J. Ryan Show. I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like I have had it's life's taking a toll on me. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm not arrogant to everything that's going on in the world. Okay, we talk about a lot of that stuff here. Obviously, one thing I've always tried to do on this channel and will continue to try to do is keep conversations going, but also be careful of certain topics because people just get really upset about certain things. Okay. So, one thing I want to go and I wanted to give you guys a perspective tonight is I want to say I feel like we, in a sense, are losing as a culture, are losing our humanity. Okay. Unfortunately, the more that you go on social media, the more you realize that everybody has an opinion, and that's great. I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think that's very important. The problem is when you see that we have gotten to a point where our opinions are so different to the point where we are no longer, it seems, to have that human decency and that human things that we're almost more callous than ever. And I'll tell you why. When you go back and you look at any time in history, yes, you can go back. We can have a history argument and say that history was more brutal and people back then were. And best, by the way, people back in history, they used to go and have a picnic while someone was getting a guillotine. Okay. So let's bring the context here really quickly. But what I will say is this: we have a very different war in our day and age right now. And the different war that we have is that I want to put this delicately because there's two perspectives that I want to give. So let me just give you both perspectives in the way that I see this. In one hand, we have more information than we've ever had. We have the ability to know things that we would have never known. We have the ability to know news across the world. We have an ability to hear things as they happen. We have an instantaneous connection to all things really that's going on in this world of somebody putting it out on social media. And in that regard, we have the ability to have an opinion about that thing. The problem that I'm having is that we are like really losing our roots as humans, in my opinion, because we are no longer valuing human life at the highest level. When I see people's comments and I see people saying things like people deserve the bad treatment or all the way up to people deserve death, this and that. What I mean by losing our humanity is that we are numb to reality. And that's what I've noticed. We are numb to everything because I don't think we were made. I've said this, you guys know, I'm like a broken record. I don't think our brains were made to process the amount of information we have access to on a daily basis. There's a lot of good media and then there's a lot of bad media. But our brains are going through a lot. And so I think at some point we are completely desensitized to anything. And it's because also if you really think about it, when you watch movies, when you watch pop culture and you see things that human eyes register as fake, you see fake death, you see fake things that happen that are gory if you watch all these different movies. And the reality is, if you were to actually see that, there'd be trauma, but we now know, hey, that's fake. But I think that's translated from us watching fake movies to real social media, to real life situations. We are no longer there, right? We're no longer neighbors anymore. And I've noticed that because I saw a TikTok about this guy who said he's in Arizona and he was really upset. And he said, people in Arizona are not that nice. And let me be honest with you. I have a call to all my Arizona people. You got to put a smile on your face, brother. People in Arizona compared to Texas, for me, I grew up, everybody smiles at each other. Everybody nods at each other. They say hi to you. You actually engage with people you walk by. If you're walking in the store, you're like, hey, how are you? And you genuinely mean that. And they'll tell you something. You'll feel friendly with people. They'll smile at you. You moved to Arizona, bro. I got here back in like 2011. People are mean out here. And I bring that example up is because we no longer have what we've talked about before is, like, in my opinion, the biblical neighbor. And a neighbor is somebody who is there for you, even as, friends and this and that. We're so isolated now. We are so able to suck in life. Wow, that was a weird one to say. Let me pause. Not suck in life, whatever the word. That's not what I wanted to go with it. Slow it down, okay? let me think about the word here. We're able to embrace life in the safety of not experiencing that life. Okay, perfect example. If I'm playing video games, I'm playing Skyrim, and I jump off a cliff and my character dies, he's going to spawn back in 2 seconds, right? That's going to happen. If I'm playing basketball, there's no consequence to that. What I'm trying to get at in the bigger scheme of this entire thing is simply this: we have completely lost our ability to engage in real life anymore. Engagements can be done online. Engagements are done online 99% of the time. And guess what? There's beauty to that. So we'll get to that part in a minute. I want to put this in the best way I possibly can, but let's go with what we're seeing on TikTok. So we look at wars. We look at situations, somebody getting killed on the side of the road. And it's almost like we are callous to these things. And I'm not saying that you're wrong for not having a reaction. So I want to put that out there. Let me be clear. I'm not trying to make you feel like you have to have some kind of reaction. What I am saying is, though, the masses have, in my personal opinion, we have lost our ability, I think, to be in touch with the reality of what we are seeing and going through right now. And it's sad because it is programmed into our system at this point. And it's programmed into our system because this is how media works. Media, in my personal opinion, has been created in a sense to give you a shock value, to sell you on a title. Now, I want to give you a perfect example. And this is going to go into our next part too. But if you are watching media and you need to understand how media works, the person who has, let's use a phone, for example. Okay, look at that nice little Star Wars. Look at that. I'd be wearing my Star Warriors, baby. It's on there every day. So imagine if I'm filming a video and this video is like this sideways. This is the point of view that you get. But as the person, okay, now use me as the reference of the person who's the media. As this person, I can show you this video from this perspective, or I can put it above my head and give you that perspective, or I can give you a perspective from down low. The thing is, you just got 3 different versions of me, meaning the media with editing, with telling you things, with reporting things, with talking to you about things, has the power to show you the same thing that you might know is real from different perspectives. Now, that can be a really good thing. That also gives them the ability to give you a perfect version of that thing. And what's really scary is that right now is we are at a point in our lives where we are losing our ability to even, I would dare say, care. Do we even have the time with our busy lives to truly care about what's going on? And I say that in a nice way. I say that in a way that hopefully doesn't make you feel like I'm being disrespectful. It simply comes down to, I don't have the time. My life is already hectic. And how am I supposed to do anything? I've been presented a problem that my brain can only handle so much of, and then I no longer have a solution. So really all I have is this opinion and these feelings, but truly I can't do too much unless there's an opportunity for me to help. But if there's something across the world that I really don't have the ability to do something about it, right? I think what I'm trying to get at is we need to start spending a little bit more time in peace. And I mean peace in yourself, peace in your own life, because that's what's missing right now. People are missing peace in their own hearts. That peace will translate to your perspective of what you are watching and what you are going through. I'll give you another perfect example. And I told you guys this before. What you consume is what you become. So it is exactly like what I've told you before, where if you are what you eat on a molecular level. If you eat something, it literally becomes what you are. It goes through your body and it does different things in processing in your body. That's the same thing with media. So like a perfect example is when I used to watch Dexter. I've like watched Dexter 3 times. I told you this before. But Dexter's dark as hell. It's a great show. And it's very psychologically interesting, but it's dark. And regardless of if it's fake or not, it still presents dark themes. And when I'm watching that show, I don't feel like I'm not going to turn into Dexter. But what I am saying is that there's just more of that looming darkness versus if you watch something more happy, right? If you're listening to music, it influences you how you feel versus what you're watching when it makes you happy. You're watching Dexter or Friends is going to affect you in some way. Okay. That is the same thing though we are going through in life and in social media. But now we have everybody who has a platform. Is that a good thing? Yes and no. Everybody having a platform, they can go grab news snippets and give you a version of the story that they want you to see, and it goes viral. And now everybody is looking at just that. And you know what I mean? It's just insane. It's just a fire, and it's causing us to go into a spiral of chaos. And so I want to talk about how we need to spend more time with ourselves. And I'm learning to do the same thing. It is so I'm gonna say this because I think it's important for us as a group. Do you think you spend enough time in silence? Like silence, not music, not reading a book, not watching TV, not anything. Do you spend time in silence? Because this is where balance starts to come out. Starting to sound like we're talking about the force here. Balance starts to come because your life is reflective of more inner peace. I genuinely think that our world is the most chaotic it's ever been because we're getting used to how we process information. We're getting used to it. There's never been more movies. There has never been more information out there. There's never been more social media. There's never been more people that have a platform. And I'm not saying that's bad. What I am saying is, how can you process all that? I can't. Sometimes I find myself if I genuinely will go at night and if I just scroll even through funny stuff and I'll lay in bed and I'll genuinely feel overwhelmed. And I'll go, why am I so overwhelmed? Like, what is this? One thing that I will tell you is that biblically, it is really important. And Jesus talks about having peace. And I was like, why? What do you mean? Like, why is that such a big theme of the Bible? Why is it important to have peace? Well, peace is something with God's peace is something that passes all understanding. So you take your normal life stresses and you take all this other stuff that you're adding onto your plate every day and you're trying to eat this plate every day. No wonder you have anxiety. No wonder you're overwhelmed. The problem is I think we're being set up for failure. Okay? We are being set up for failure. And I'm going to tell you why. And you can call me a conspiracy theorist, you can call me whatever the case is. I think in our country and world that the entertainment business is the number one thing that is put money into, right? We talk about sports. I mean, there's people who have signed NBA contracts this last year who have been paid $330 million for 5 years. It's not to say that they haven't earned it. It's not my place to say that. Okay. I love sports. I love basketball. I love football. You guys know that. I love sports in general. What I am now realizing in my life is I can distract myself for the rest of my life with never needing a break because there's so much out there for me to spend my time consuming. But the thing is, if I have no inner peace, if I have no inner compass, if I have no idea how to be connected to myself or connected to God by any means, then I'm going to feel out of control. I'm going to feel like the world is burning. And I'm not saying it's not, but I will tell you that if you always feel that way, it's going to influence you in all the decisions that you make. It's going to influence how you see the world. It's going to influence a lot. So your inner peace is where this all starts. And that's why I like people who say some kind of solution. What's the solution? Well, the best advice I could possibly give you simply is that you spend your time finding your inner peace. And then when you want to research those things and find out more, you should do that because it's scary how fast somebody in a media company will make something that goes and gears towards themselves, gears towards what they want to tell you. It's called narrative. And they give you a narrative based off of their bias, based off the they want to tell you, so that way you process that as your actual information. And it's so sad because it's all the integrity has been thrown out the window. We no longer know if something's true. How can we even believe it anymore? And I hate to sound like that, but it just the more that I look at the world and all the things that are coming out every day and all this stuff, it's so hard to even know what is real. And that's what I'm saying. We are losing our humanity. We're losing our we no longer see people as people anymore. We no longer judge people as people They are now an entity online that does not exist, that is not tangible. And the way that people speak to each other in comments over stupid stuff, bro. Like people get in like literal all out fights in these comments over something on a funny video. I don't I don't I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe we should be doing something more productive with our time. I don't know. I guess my whole point in bringing up this subject is I just don't see enough conversations about the fact that people need to take a step back. The positives of what we have is this: how in the world is it possible that you guys are all over the world and I'm able to sit in this studio and talk to you? That's amazing. And it gives us the ability to do amazing things and spread good messages. And I can tell you right now, there's so much positive in the world too. Now here's where you're gonna think I'm off my rocker, and that's okay. I'm starting to realize, and this is really came back to Netflix, thinking about how I spent a long time telling Netflix, "Hey, this is what the story of my family. This is what the reality was. This is how things were. Here are people to back that up. Here is the story. Here's the reality. This was our family. This is how it was." And then Netflix does what it does, and it nitpicks that certain points and a certain type of story and gives you that story. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, that's not even like here's the story. And then this is what you ended up doing over here. You took certain pieces and put together let's call it a mosaic. Okay. I don't call it a work of art, but for lack of a better term, let's say that you create a new project just because you took pieces out of it to apply to the bigger picture. It's happening every single day in narratives that are important, that are shaping your opinion about how you feel. Because the point is, these credible sources have now been able to realize that they have a power, and that power now says, I'm going to give you what I want you to see. Tell me I'm wrong. And I've seen it because I've lived it. I've watched it on a very small scale. And so I am telling you right now that media has the ability to shape your opinion because they're only giving you what they want you to see. And it's unfortunate because if you are a history nerd like me, you realize that history is written by the winner, the victor, meaning we know a perspective of history. Unless we have more people who are able to attest to that history, multiple accounts from multiple different places, we don't know because it is written by the person who won. So metaphorically, if someone won a war, they get to write the narrative because back then there was no fact checking. It's me and my piece of paper. It's me and my feather pen. And I'm writing down, hey, I'm the greatest man that ever lived. I mean, like, I control the narrative. Okay. Media is doing this and it's starting to get really crazy. Now, there's a lot of people, I'd call them, please don't think I'm trying to get political on this, but there's people I would call freedom fighters. What I mean is there needs to be more people who are fighting for true information to be seen in a full light, not from a bias, not from a place who are trying to prove their opinion or shove that. You know how hard that is for a human being? I genuinely believe it's really hard for human beings to say, this is my opinion, this is how I feel, but I'm going to give you a narrative, a full story. It's very hard because, I mean, how many people are doing that? The problem is we put our trust into these story writers, storytellers, but they are unfortunately aware that they are the storytellers. The humanity part that I'm seeing is the problem with that. Those storytellers are getting into our heads and they're getting into the masses. They're telling the story they want, and then they're causing us, the people not in the media, who are not in the know, who are the readers of the story, to then have a reaction. And I think that people in those higher power truly want reaction. I think a lot of things are fake because they want reality to not exist. They want us to live within the reality that they make. And I've never been that person who's like, anything to do with like the Matrix or this and that, but there is a programming in a sense where people are being told certain things from a certain perspective. And then there's people who light fires on purpose to get you to feel and react a certain way. It's crazy because like I've even seen it, like I've told you guys and joked about on the show and in general. I've had people, so many people, even on Facebook comments lately, be like, "Is this actually like real? Like, is she a real person or is she actually paid off?" If you think that Lori is a paid actor, somebody needs to tell me that she's been paid. Somebody needs to wake me up from a bad dream. Like, she's not a plant. She's not some kind of fake actress who's putting on a show and everything. All of this is a big ploy. That's crazy. But I get why people think things of that nature, because how can you trust people to tell you the truth when they don't? A perfect example, okay, is that there was a few different documents that came out that the government back in like the 50s was trying to get things moved into food, and they were trying to make this movement, and it came out in the documents, right? I don't have enough information on that to share with you. Obviously, I would love to give you more context there, but there's people who at those points will try to shape your opinion because it benefits them in some way, whether that is, you know, money, or gets you to start a movement, or gets you to light a fire for them, or gets you to do advertisement. I want to say what's so unfortunate, and it is the truest thing you will hear, is that money motivates the world, and money motivated Lori to do what she did and Chad to do what he did. I mean, money has this sick way of getting people to do things that are inhumane. And we've all heard the term, "Oh, well, money, money's the root of all evil." It's pretty true. But the problem is money's also not a evil thing in and of itself. And that's where we need to sift everything through and stop just grouping everything together. That's what I see too much of. Our world just groups all things in. Well, yeah, money's evil. No, it's not. It's not evil. You need it to survive. How's that evil? It's the worshiping of money. It's the fact that you would take a life for money. It's the fact that money will get you and other people to do things that you would never do otherwise, or get people to start a war, or get people to do things that are inhumane because they want money. That's crazy. The fact that we can be bought off as a society, or I should stop saying we, but the fact that this is what is causing all of this inhumane activity in the world is over a couple dollars. I'll never understand. And it's just starting to really weigh on me because, like I said to you guys, I've never I'm laughing because I've never been this way. It must be because I'm 30. I don't know. The second I left my 20s, I was just like, I don't know. I can't keep not talking about this with you guys. It's just to watch our world burn and watch people every day in so much hurt and so much disdain and so much misinformation, and people who are on social media who want to push narrative and push false history and push all these things to get people riled up and get people to have no peace. It's truly just like the thief of all peace. And it just hurts to see that people can't even live their lives normal, because what do you do when you're sitting there for a minute? What do? You usually check your phone. Most of us have social media. Most of us have some interest in something, right? Your social media is going to ask you, what are you interested in? Why don't we show you more of that? Let me give you an algorithm and show you what you like. And let me show you, even if you watch one video, how about when you watch one video of a guy who is on his hands and knees going, "Thank you," and then you get a million more of those? I don't want that on my algorithm. No, thank you. But it's on my algorithm now because my freaking phone is programmed to pump out content on anything you've ever watched or seen. And that is what I am trying to get to. I promise you, I'm not freaking crazy. I am telling you that this is what is going on. You and I are being programmed, whether we like it or not. And we are looking to these credible news sources, and we're looking at these bigger companies hoping that they're telling us the full narrative, but they have a lot more power than maybe we understand. They have a lot more power to say, hey, this is what happened. But it's a trust me, bro, because I've spent how many ever many years building credibility to be this news outlet. But I'm going to tell you this fraction of the whole pie because that's what I want to give you for whatever reason they have. Whether it's money, whether it's just in coordinates with other things, I don't know. You're going to think I'm crazy, but that's okay. Exactly. You're never getting the full story. That's my whole point. And it's so hard because I'll give you a perfect example. You and I could watch a video of an event. And in this video, on your algorithm, you saw a certain viewpoint of that exact video. And then on my algorithm, I see a third person that shows me more information. And we both saw the same video, only two different camera views, two different angles of the same exact video. And now we both have different opinions because we don't have a full story. We don't both have the same information. And then whoever's putting it out adds in their opinion usually, or you know, throws something in there. And that's just what happens. I'm so glad. I'm glad that you guys can just see our world for what it is. And this is why this whole show started, because of course, like I think it's so important for us to talk about crime and all those things, and all those things that we've talked about before on this channel still exist. But this, I'm telling you, at my little bit of experience with all of these media companies, and this is not to knock them or make them, to go at them. It's just the truth. They are going to tell a specific kind of story. And that is what we have to understand. It doesn't mean everything is always a lie. So I just want to go ahead and jump out and say, not everything you see is trying to be dishonest, but it is just a version and is usually going to come from a certain preset point of view. I think that's what's sad. And money motivates a lot of these companies to jump in on a story. How about that? How about they just jump into a story because it's going to make them money? They're going to make more money if they talk about that. That's where I think I'm getting to the point of realization of all this stuff. And this is where I say we need to wake up. Now, I'm not the person who's going to come in here and say, get woke, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying that. What I think waking up is just being aware of what you're seeing and just be really careful with information. That's all I'll ever tell you guys. Like, my biggest hope for us is to continue to have discussions. I want this show to be a catalyst to those discussions without trying to come in and just give, a perspective on one thing and just, say, oh, this is how this is. Like, there's probably multiple different ways to look at things. And I always want to say, I'm okay with being wrong. That's okay with me. If I see new information that shows that what I thought originally is not true, I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, I'm not going to try to push my feet into the ground there. It's okay to be wrong. And I think that might be another big problem for people. They don't want to be wrong, or they don't want to say, hey, you know what? My opinion has changed now. It shifted. I still hold this position, but now because I know this changed, that's like non-existent anymore. It's like people just don't have too much pride. They don't want to believe and say, hey, I was wrong. I thought that this was going to be this way. It didn't go out that way. And now I was wrong. And then, okay, that happens. We're okay. It's okay to be wrong. I don't know. But I'm scared. I'm just scared for my kids too, because my kids are growing up in this age where, like, you think about, for me, like back in, I'm getting there. The age is catching up. I'm starting to say stuff like that. But back in like when I first moved to Arizona, there wasn't a lot here. It was still pretty desolate. It was still pretty not populated as it is now. And there was a lot of farmland still. It just was nothing like it is now. And so I think about 2010 to 2020 was a huge explosion here. And then a bunch of people moved to Arizona, all into like the areas around Phoenix and near Phoenix. And it just exploded. And then now there's like more homes than you've ever seen and shops and everything like that. And that's really cool, you know? But there's so many people here now and it's just so different. And so that vast difference of when I moved here versus now is not that long. It's like 15 years, 16 years, I guess. I think about how my kids will grow up and like we didn't have I had a MySpace. I don't know about you, but when I first got on social media when I was like, I don't know, 11, 12, I had a MySpace page. And then I had Facebook because Facebook blew up in like 2009. I want to say for me at least when I like really got on Facebook. And then I don't remember when Instagram came around. And then there was Vine and TikTok. And I tell you all of that because look how different it is now. And there's always going to be a thing that comes out that makes the old thing obsolete and then has an ability to, and we all get used to that algorithm and then we all get used to the trends. We all get used to these things because they're constantly in our face, right? So then we all have references to these things because we're all seeing the same things. And I'm just like thinking to myself, you're gonna think I'm nerdy, okay? But I always go back to freaking Star Wars, bro. And I think about Palpatine and how George Lucas wrote this way back. Okay. He wrote this. And I think a lot of times movies do have an ability to reflect. But Palpatine is this evil dude who gets a war going on both sides. He is the mastermind of both wars. And he's playing chess and everyone else is playing checkers. And this dude is manipulating people and manipulating the government and manipulating all this stuff because he's evil and he has a bigger plan and he's smart enough to execute it. I just think to myself, if you have the ability to create something and then has an algorithm, it gives you, the creator, a lot of power to do what you want with it. And then you make it look like people are just posting whatever the case is. And then, you know, you start to quietly shadow ban people and quietly stop pushing people's content so that way your narratives can continue or get people less eyes because algorithm rewards what you hit with if you hit on what the markers are for that website. So if you do something and you're real controversial on any topic, YouTube has its own mind of coming in and making sure your content doesn't keep being seen as much. Crazy, right? Like what are we doing? What are we doing in this world? Like if we don't like someone's opinion on something, and again, I'm not arrogant to say certain opinions on like certain topics should not be out there, right? There's obviously topics that I think most of every person who's a human can say there's certain topics that should not be allowed to be discussed openly on social media. But to have people getting suppressed in any way to where we can't talk, that's crazy to me. It's just not, it's not okay. It's not okay to shut down to shut down conversations, to shut down things, or to make it suppressed into algorithms and make us all think one way. I don't know. I just refuse to be that way. Well, I'll give you a perfect example. So you guys have some insight. So like, let's say you start a channel today. Whatever you talk about more, the algorithm's going to get used to that thing. So let's say you talk about soap and you only cover soap. And then for years you talk about soap. And then one day you're like, I'm not going to even talk about soap anymore. I'm not going to show soap. I'm going to show me cooking and baking. The problem is your channel has an algorithm of soap. And so that's the channels it interconnects itself to. The algorithm is made to give you more of what you interact with. So if you're on YouTube and you watch a lot of sports stuff, you're going to keep getting different channels, different sports stuff. And then that itself will push the creator of those things onto your home pages or something of that nature, right? And then there's like trending topics, which like, you know, certain things like people who are huge creators, I think get pushed out to masses. I think like the bigger channels pop up on people's pages randomly, right? Because they're favorited because they bring more watch time to YouTube. But if it's like same thing, like if you watch something on TikTok, it starts to pump out more of that. So if you watch LeBron James on one TikTok and then you scroll a couple of things, you're going to have more LeBron. And then you watch that and it might give you a Michael Jordan. It's like, do you like this? It's testing your attention. It's testing you. It gets to know you. Your algorithm gets to know what you like. It gets to know your personality, what you engage with to keep you locked onto that website. And so it's going to try to please you, basically. And it's trying to give you more and more and more interaction. So if you comment or like things, it's going to try to give you more of that. And so, in a sense, it's trying to get you to see whatever that is, right? It's trying to get you to interact more with more content that you like so you stay longer. Because it's your time. You're giving your time to that website, which in turn, if you give time to the website, you are then paying the website in a sense. You are giving them your time. And they're going to reward people who are the most successful at keeping your time. The problem is, I think it's wrong to keep someone's time on BS, on nonsense. I'm not saying I don't watch a bunch of nonsense myself. I watch videos that have nothing to do with anything and laugh. And there's a million videos I've watched that have no real substance to them. But the problem that I'm also trying to re-explain to us is that the algorithm also is set to also give us, without us, in my opinion, to give us opinions on things from certain perspectives that could be at the higher end. So I put the thumbnail the way I did just so we can understand what I mean. If somebody wants propaganda in any way, they're going to pump out propaganda. I'll give you a perfect historical example. Back in World War II, when America went to war, they went full on motivational propaganda to get people to go to war. And they got you motivated and they wanted you to go join up to fight the war. And so they were making videos and they were making all kinds of stuff. They're putting in every movie theater. They're putting out all kinds of stuff to get you to be motivated to go to war, to volunteer yourself to go to war. And the thing is, oh man, oh man, I just never thought I'd be talking to you guys about this stuff because it's just the stuff that gets under my skin. Is the problem is they got you to get motivated about the war because they needed soldiers to fight their war. Simple enough, right? That's the thing that's so crazy is like you don't understand that they're even the best of intentions can be manipulated by the wrong people. That's what I'll say. And there's people like that in media who will manipulate messaging and good things to get what they want because they see that people are gravitating towards that. And so they got people to freaking jump up to be patriotic to go do these things because they were pushing it out like a sales thing, sales pitch. And so I think that's kind of where I come into this point where like people back in the day, these young men going to storming Normandy, right? Like that's what I'm trying to get at. Is like for you to do that, you should have all the information that you need to make a decision on everything. That's what we should be doing. That should be the freedom of making sure people see that. But guess what? People who talk like that are very suppressed and those types of things because they don't like they don't want anybody to come in and they don't want somebody to throw people off of that. They don't want you to be knocked off of the course they've set. They've spent millions of dollars trying to paint a picture. And it's just crazy to me, man. And it's right there in front of us. And if you read your Bible, it's very clear about the last days. It said there's going to be rumors of wars and there's going to be all kinds of misdeception. I finally understand that with like where we are with like AI and everything. Like I told you guys, it scares me to think I'm looking at videos and I genuinely have to take the time to think if it's real. I don't know if we've ever had this problem. This is a new kind of problem. I mean, I'm watching all the space stuff. We watched it together in a show the other night. I can't accept the information as real anymore. So what the hell are we supposed to do now? We're supposed to just take people's word for it, or we need to spend the time trying to figure out how the hell they're making people look like real influencers now, like real human beings. And you have to like look for the cues of it's fake. But what happens when they patch that? What happens when they get a little bit better at that? And then they send you a video and says, "Hey, this country just got at this country." And it's not even true. I mean, like it blows my mind that we don't see the bad part of this, and the fact that we are so numb to it because we're already freaking overwhelmed, bro. We got to pay for groceries. We got to pay all of our bills, and they're higher than ever. You know what I mean? It's like it's just chaos. It's freaking chaos. So what is my solution to you? What is the best advice I could give you? I want to share this. This is my not solution to all the world, but this is what I want to share with you. I think you'll appreciate it because you guys are the best. Here it is. So, where am I? I'm not even here anymore. Oh, losing our humanity. Okay. What is scary to you, noise or silence? Fahrenheit 451 is a dystopian novel written by Ray Bradbury in the 1950s about a society that is filled with not silence but noise, earbuds in ears or screens in front of the face. That is how everyone or almost everyone in the book lived. 1950s. Just so we're all there. Little personal reflection, few deep relationships or discussions, and certainly no books which were burned. The goal was to feel good and to go along with the crowd. With the noise, we don't question, we don't read, we don't think. That is what I'm trying to say right now. We have lost our drive to ask questions, to think, to know. That is what I mean. It's autopilot. Or we're being swayed because we have these people that we say, "Hey, you should give me my information. It's easier." Just saying. C.S. Lewis wrote about the noise and the silence along similar lines in the Screwtape Letters. The demon Screwtape is the writing of letters to his nephew and pupil, Wormwood, as he trains him how to tip human beings. Screwtape shares from a demonic point of view the dangers of silence. The demons prefer to surround the Christian and the unbeliever alike, bombardments of sound on every side. Constant distractions. This provides people or prevents people from either coming to faith or continue relationship with God. Their goal is, as a Screwtape puts it, to make the whole universe noise. Why would demons prefer noise? And that is what and what can this teach us about spiritual value of silence? The answer is that within silence we find ourselves. Now this might sound very new age and like a half self-help slogan at best. I don't mean practicing silence as a kind of psychological fiction, but as we turn inward to find validation or meaning. What I mean is by finding ourselves in silence and a stillness, it forces us to face ourselves. It creates the opportunity to engage in critical self examination and introspection. Can we just pause right there and let me just say this? That is what I'm trying to tell you guys. We have lost as a society, we have lost the ability. I mean, we just don't even we don't even spend the time to be silent. It's almost uncomfortable to sit in silence. If you guys have seen, there's a couple videos on YouTube you can look up about people who go to the most silent room in the world. It's like literally you can hear your entire body because it's so void of noise. You can hear absolutely nothing from the outside. And most people, I think they sit in there in the dark. But they're like, I literally, people cried and people were overwhelmed by the silence, and it got them so messed up. They just didn't know how to act because you're so used to car noises and you're so used to, I mean, you just don't realize how much noise there is, right? I just want to challenge us today to spend more time outside of the chaos, because there are people who genuinely thrive off of our chaos. They thrive off of our chaos. And it's so crazy that that's how people think. It's crazy and sad that people at higher levels in this world who are tasked with the responsibility of sharing information to us thrive in the environment of our chaos, of our hurt, of our confusion, and get us all riled up about all these different things. And it's just, I don't know, it's horrible, you know. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. If you turn on your news right now, you're gonna see about 30, maybe within 15 minutes, you'll see about 30 different things going on. And then you can turn on another news station, they might have the same thing, only they have to take a different position because they can't copy paste, right? They got to give you a different angle. So they're gonna give you the same thing, like I told you. Here's one news station giving you this point of view. Same story. But the other one's going to give you this one over here. They're going to give you the side profile, and they're going to tell you some different things because they can't copy paste. I encourage you to just be really careful with what you're bringing in every day, the type of information you're putting into your mind. It affects your mental health. You need to look at your mental health as serious as you look at your physical health. It is just as important. If you are doing things that are getting you riled up and upset and frustrated, it's going to affect how you think and feel every single day. I'm not saying that there's not things that are going to be frustrating and hurtful and all those things. What I am saying is take the time to filter through your feelings. Your emotions are affected by so many factors. Your emotions are affected by how you slept, what you ate today. Your emotions are facing off of your life circumstances. So many factors. Your heart cannot be trusted in that way. It cannot. Like you cannot trust your feelings, your emotions to run your life. It's a horrible thing to think that your heart should lead you. Your heart can do a lot of great things, but your emotions are very, what's the word? Not factoral. Circumstantial. Your emotions are circumstantial, and it's because they can change, and they can, like I said, there's factors based into your emotions. And I'm not saying don't have emotions. I'm a very emotional person. You all know that. I cry, I get angry. You've seen a lot of my array of emotions. But I've learned that it's very important to not react and think and make decisions and fact-based things off of somebody who has the ability to freaking get in my head. And that is what I think is the answer for us, is not to go try to fix the world. It's to go in and fix ourselves. The more we move that, and the more we move each other and encourage each other to take a minute and spend time on self-reflection, on inner peace, your whole life is going to change. Your entire perspective is going to change. All that anxiety that you're carrying, a lot of it's going to start to dissipate. You know why? Because you're not trying to carry the world. You're not trying to carry a bunch of stuff you can't do anything about. You're not trying to fix problems you don't have solutions for. You're able to really think and feel, how do I feel? You are already carrying so much baggage. You deserve peace. And to give your best version of yourself to your family, to your life, to whatever you're doing, you have to be mentally healthy. Well, you can't do that and yet also be in a perpetual cycle of constantly ingesting too much. And it's like just like your physical health, you cannot be healthy and eat unhealthy at a high clip. It's just they cancel each other out. You can't do both. So spend more time with your mental health. Take that time. And I think I can honestly tell you too. I can say, yeah, I'm too busy, or it's too overwhelming, or I don't really have the time. All of us can find 5 to 10 minutes sometime, morning, noon, or night, and just find 5 to 10 minutes and just shut everything off. Can you imagine that? Those 5 to 10 minutes probably feel like forever, bro. They're going to feel like a long time. They are. But this is where my encouragement comes, because you have to be careful. There's people whose entire job is to freaking trigger you. Their whole job is to get you riled the F up. Okay. I'll give you a perfect example. There are people who have historically been planted in different places to get riled up. Perfect example. Another, I'll give you this one. People have been planted in churches, in big churches, to fake baptism, to fake whatever. They're planted in the crowd to act like they're having some kind of moment to get the crowd moving because people are manipulative like that. How wrong is that? You're gonna fake a movement of the Holy Spirit so that way you can get people to come be baptized at your church. You know what I'm saying? That is what we are dealing with in this world. People are so money motivated and so selfish and so whatever, just wrong, demonic. And there are people in this world who are on social media who I truly believe are planted in social media to get you to freaking get riled the frick up and get you going and give you this information and put it a certain way and get us to hate each other and get us to fight each other and make our politics more important than our humanity and get our religion to be more important than our humanity and put everything above humanity, put everything above loving your neighbor, to get everything above caring for one another or having human decency or even looking at each other. You know what I mean? Like what the hell are we doing? I don't know, man. I don't know if I grew up in a different time and I just feel like this is such a weird reflection that I'm thinking about my kids. And I'm like, what's going to happen when they're older? My oldest is 7. So there's a lot of time. That's 11 years before she's 18 where she could where things have time to progress way past what we're experiencing today. And I'm thinking to myself, what kind of world does she have? What kind of value is she going to have where she doesn't even know what's real or not because she grew up in that. She grew up in a system that's telling her how to think and feel. It's crazy. And I'm telling you, I've seen all these people who have talked and crashed out and sound so crazy. And then one day, if you, not that you need to listen to crazy people, but sometimes there's some real truth to what we're seeing. And unfortunately, you need to see the world for what it is. And this world is basically a business. And money has now become the root of everything. Everything that we see, it's just demonic. Killing people for money, taking people, selling them for money. I mean, it's just money. It's like money we just decided as human beings that money is going to allow us to lose our humanity. But I think we're in the worst spot because we're being programmed daily. We're being seeing algorithms, we're seeing life from these perspectives, and it's getting in our heads, whether we know it or not. And I'm telling you right now, the people who are the most detached from social media are probably the more at peace and happy ones. I know a lot of people who are more like in the farm life, man, they are not having the same thoughts as us. They're not as consumed by everything because they take that step out and they work in a completely different way. And I really love and respect that, you know? And I think part of me has always craved that peace. I've always craved peace. I don't know about you, but I've always craved peace my whole life. My mother never created peace. My mom was the epitome of chaos. I grew up with anxiety, fear, depression, worries, doubts. I mean, you name it, I had it my whole life. And then I realized that I'm an adult. I get to make those decisions. So why would I voluntarily put myself in position to constantly feel that way? You know, why? Why would I do that? So I'm going to end it by being very concise. Number one, I'm not telling you to boycott social media. I'm not telling you anything of that. I'm not telling you anything other than just spend some more time with you so you can recalibrate. If a machine needs to be recalibrated every once in a while, if my Wii controller needs to be recalibrated, I certainly think we do. I think just every day, or at least as much as you can, find some time to be with you, be with God. The only way I think you find that silence is to genuinely make an effort. And it's just like take some time in your day to recalibrate and breathe. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with us. So let's normalize that. I think even helping someone you love take the time and go and take, some mental health time. Breathe. Breathe. We just don't get that enough, man. And it's just All right, you guys still there? All right. Maybe I'm still here with you. I don't know how that even happened. They got me, man. They got me. They got me. They don't like it. They don't like it. Anyway. Oh man. Oh man. Anyway, I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna end it because obviously they're not having fun. Plus, it's the end of our show anyway. They don't like this conversation. They don't like it. Told you. You say one, you can't even tell your opinion. How I'm just asking you, how freaking wild was that? Just saying. Just saying. Crazy. That's only happened a few times. Just saying, guys. Anyway, I love you. Thank you for sticking around for this conversation. I really hope that it was a good conversation for you. I think these are the things that I have been trying so hard to communicate, and hopefully here's what I'll say. If anything ever happens to the channel, which God forbid anything ever happens to our community, please come find me on like Instagram or something and we'll figure it out. But if anything ever happened, come find me on a different social media site because we'll figure it out from there. That's all I'll say. But I think it's really important to have these conversations. So I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for another show. Have a great rest of your night and love.